start by knowing what's Qt. Qt, cross-platform application framework that's used mainly for building graphical user interfaces. It was first designed by Nokia, then it was acquired by a company called DJI in 2012. So we'll talk about the main features in Qt. So as we just said, the graphical user interface, Qt has enables the developer to build up graphical user interface programs with very high flexibility. It has a designer for building the forms, or so it can be, developed all programmatically. By the way, Qt is not only for C++. What we're going to be tackling is the C++ framework, but there's also for Python, for Ruby, for several platforms. The next main feature is cross-platform. So Qt application can be deployed in different platforms: iPhone, iOS, Android, Mac, Windows, Linux. All the versions are available from the same source code. It's a bit different from Java's cross-platform. In one thing is Java's actually the same code runs in all machines, but here you have to compile the application for different platforms, but still the same code. Another strong feature in Qt is its extensive library. Qt has really a very large set of libraries and classes. It has classes for OpenGL, for databases, SQL with different types, for image processing, for even the standard classes, and threading. Also, the threading is one of the strong features in Qt, and the graphing libraries. The WebKit for building web applications. So it really has that. So away from the UI, it's still a very powerful tool for building applications. Another strong feature in Qt is the concept of signals and slots. Okay, that's signals and slots. So basically, it's a way of communication between different classes or widgets in Qt. The thing is, for example, I have a button. Okay, this is my button. Okay. When someone clicks on this button, the button emits a signal. Okay, click. In my code, this signal is received by slots. Slot is just normal function, but they can be triggered through signals. So I have as example, I have function on button click. Whenever the user hits a button, this function is triggered. So I can, in this function, I can do whatever I like. For example, pop up some message, or do whatever I want with from this signal when it's connected to this slot. Also, slots can be, the same signal can be connected to different slots. So I can have another slot that receives this signal and so on. Also, it's not only about widgets. Inside our classes, we make use of these signals and slots. And it's really a very powerful feature. We'll get into this when we start coding and actually using it. Another important feature in Qt is garbage collection. If someone here is familiar with Java or C#, you know that you don't need when you say, for example, string x equal new string. In C# or Java, you don't have to deallocate this dynamically allocated object. Unlike in C++, whenever you have dynamic allocation, you should have the delete operator or manual deallocation of the allocated object on the heap. Qt has some workaround on this concept. Qt manages this problem with two different ways. The first thing is QObject. So most of the classes in the Qt, especially QWidgets, are inherit from QObject. It's like the superclass of all objects in Qt. So when I have any widget will inherit QObject. Most of the classes in Qt are actually instances of QObject. So whenever I construct a QObject, let's say I say QButton. So let's say I'm in the main window. We talk about the actual classes of main window and button, but let's say I'm in the class of the main window. So I construct a new button. So I say Q push button equals new Q push button. In the constructor of any Q object, you don't have to, but it's recommended that you pass the parent, which in our case is this. So what I say here is that this button, which is sorry. So which this pointer button, which points to a dynamically allocated object, has a parent, which is this class. Following to here. Okay. So as instruction of this main window, which is also a Q object, it automatically destructs all its child. So you don't have to. So you don't need to deallocate the dynamically allocated object. You have memory. Yeah, as long as you pass the parent, you don't need to deallocate your object. You will automatically allocate it by its parent class.
Is this related only to the main window or
it depends on the parent. Whatever the parent you have inside your constructor, whenever this object is destructed, it will destruct its child. So that's one way of handling garbage collection in Qt. So basically, you already need to destruct any object, any Q object that's constructed on the heap. Another feature in another way of handling garbage collection in Qt is QPointer. QPointer is a class, a template class that takes type of what will be pointing to. So let's say I will point to text edit. Don't worry, we'll talk about this text, these widgets, the push button, text edit. We'll talk about these widgets later. So this is pointer to text edit. Okay, and we'll say it's PTR, ultimate PTR equal new Q text edit. Okay, so this pointer, since it's a Q pointer, it's kind of a smart pointer. So when you construct an object using Q and pass it to a Q pointer, you don't need to destruct it. Whenever sorry, not active. So when you can still access the field of this object, normally using the arrow operator. But whenever this pointer gets out of scope, it will automatically deallocate its child. Are you following here? So it's like normal pointers, but instead of saying QText edit asterisk, you say just it's a Q pointer with template type of QText edit. So when to use this and when to use that? When our object is an instance of Q object like QWidgets and all other classes that are inherited from Q object, we will just use the method of passing the pair. If we encounter any class that's not an instance of Q object, even if it's a standard C++ object, we use Q point. Are you fine with that? Okay. The last main feature is documentation. Qt has really one of the strongest, powerful documentation personally I have ever encountered. I'll show you, for example, the documentation of the QString graph. So, for example, this is a QString. We'll talk about QString later in session 5 here. Here you can see the actual documentation. Also, there's also documentation inside the Qt ID itself, but for now I'm using the online documentation. So here you can see all the description of the class. Also, these are all the methods that exist in this class. These are the constructors, the methods, and if you click on any method here, you'll find the actual usage and description of the method. So I guess even most experienced developers they refer to this documentation because it's really powerful and really easy to use. So I hope you get the hang of using the documentation. Okay, do you have any question before we move on to installing the downloading and installing Qt? Okay, I'll just show you the download page for Qt and we'll be done for this session, and we will continue actually working on the development in the 5 p.m. session. So this is the download page for Qt. Qt.project.org download. So you come down here, click show download. It will show you all the versions of Qt that we need. If you're using Windows, you will have the 2 versions for MinGW compiler or Visual Studio compiler. If you're Linux, then you have only the GCC version. So pick whatever version you want, just download it, and installing is pretty straightforward, nothing fancy. So
I suggest MinGW.
okay.
I suggest MinGW.
Yeah, for Windows I usually use the MinGW version, but for Linux I have one more version. Okay. Another question?
By the way, the Qt is installed in the computer.
It's already installed in the computer in this lab, so
You're not satisfied.
and so if you don't want to use your own laptop, you can use on desktop too. Okay, thank you. Okay, we start. This interface of the Qt creator, which is the IDE that's for Qt. By the way, you can use it is an mentioned that you can install for Visual Studio if you feel comfortable with using Visual Studio. However, I recommend using Qt Creator or Qt IDE because it's really powerful. I really like it. So this is the interface of the Qt Creator. We start by creating a new project.
وانت لما تيجي بتداونلود Qt for application development ولا Qt for device creation؟
We got through it and downloading it in the morning.
ايه؟
اجيب شو هنسولد هنا؟
ليش انا عايز ليه؟
Okay, like I do have a session. By the way, do you mind if the session was extended for a while and like if we finish just before 7:30 so that I can catch us or you guys fine with that? Okay. Okay, we'll start by creating a new project. These are Qt projects. Qt will mainly be focusing on two types of projects: the Qt widget application and Qt console application. Qt widget is what we're going to use mostly for building GUI application. Qt console is not a normal terminal project. However, you can make use of Qt libraries and stuff. You can still create normal C++ projects, but it's not our focus right now. I know everyone wants to jump into GUI and interesting stuff, but we'll start by working on console application, make you comfortable with say Qt libraries and normal Qt class. So we choose Qt console application.
هو installed ولا؟
It's installed in the desktop and the computers.
لا.
I didn't know. You'll find it on you'll not find it on the old program. You'll find it on C. You'll find Qt folder. Also, I show you how to open it. Now C. Now Qt. And then now Qt 5.3.2. Tahoe tools. Qt Creator.
Then
That was Qt Creator. Qt Creator version. كنت بقى عنده حد مش عارف يفتحه لسه؟ هو غني ليش لا خلاص كله فتح عنده؟ Okay, then get your project, which is console application just for now. We name it other thing. Next, here we can choose compilers if you have different versions of compilers. If anyone uses Git or GitHub, Qt has embedded version control that you can use. But I don't think we need it right now. Okay. This is a code to use core application.
كده تعال نفوتها.
This is a code Qt application, the console application. If we run it, you get nothing. That's just a terminal window. Just a small note. You can use the STL libraries whenever you want. You can use the iStream and whatever the STL library you're free to use it. But I highly recommend when you're building a Qt application to stick to Qt libraries. Qt has any library you want. That's in STL you'll find a similar one in Qt, and mostly it will be more powerful. So, for example, if you want to use, instead of using the normal vectors, you can use QVector. So let's use QList. Also, even for the string, get used to using QString. So you can still use the normal library, but for consistency, you better use Qt libraries. So I will introduce you to the first module in Qt, which is QDebug. So here I write include QDebug. As you can see from the name, QDebug is used for debugging. However, you can consider it many times you can consider it as a replacement for the cout and the standard i3. So I can just say QDebug. Hello from Qt. Okay. QDebug is only a bit tricky, only has a bit different syntax because it is actually a macro. So you might find the syntax a bit weird, but it is the only one that will be used that way. All the other libraries are using traditional syntax. So now if I run the application, so here you can see you have hello from Qt. QDebug is also pretty handy when you're building a normal Jira application because you can use it to print messages in the console window. So you can actually you can use it for debugging if you want to print anything to your console or your IDE. You can use QDebug and it won't show on the actual window of the application. Okay. So next, this is actually one. You don't need to include QString, but I just to show it to you because QString is actually there are a lot of libraries that are already included in the Qcore application with the core of Qt. So you don't need to. One of them is QString. But I just want you to get used to use QString because that's one of the classes you will use most of the time. So QString is like regular, the regular C++ string. So I can say QString, my string, say hello.
إذا ممكن تزوم in؟
يا ريت عشان كده
So this is the string library that we'll be using most of the time. So if some widget will takes a string, it will be QString. If you print, you'll use QString. So you'll get used to using QString, and it has many functions. For you can split or create on this library.
هو الميت فانكشن الارجمنتس بتاعتها والريتيرن مش فاهم.
Okay, these arguments are not related to Qt. In any C++ application, you have the argument count and the argument values. It's used for when you want to pass some argument to the main function. It's not really what we're discussing here, but ignore it. Even in Visual Studio, you can use this argument. Qcore application. This is a Qt's way for starting core application. You just declare it, and when you return it execute, it makes your application run. Ignore the syntax of this application for now. You won't need it. So if I say QDebug my string, you can see you will get the same result. Okay. So I show you some functions in my string, for example. So if I have, let's say I have my string written that way. If I say my string, here you can see that I have all these two arguments that you can use. Is anyone familiar with regular expressions? Okay, we'll come to that later. For example, I can use split. Sorry.
وانا ممكن اسال سؤال؟
Sure.
هو انت بتعرف منين تخلي كيو كابيتال تخليه سمول عشان لما جيت تعمل
بص هي it's just يعني it's the convention in Qt. Normal or most Qt all Qt libraries starts with Q capital and the library name capital. The thing with small q is actually macros, not a class. So yeah, there's a library, there's a class Q capital debug, but I don't want this more shorthand for using it. So small q is for macros, but normal classes or libraries they use capital Q
small Q's
for macros. But mostly you use Q debug. There's Q fail and Q sort. There are not so many that use small q. So okay. QString list is another library in Qt. Will come to lists and containers in a bit, but for now, to show you as a small functionality. So right now, this is a list of the string of QString is like the name says, it's a list of strings. So when I say my string dot split using the comma, this list will contain hello as a first string, from a second string, and Qt as a third string. So it actually splits the string into a list of strings were separated by this separator that we shown here. So if we say we have some, I'm showing you examples of function of QString, but you have a lot. So split, one of the function, it's a QString list is a list of strings. So when I say split, my string split using comma, it returns a list of string from this word where it takes each word before the comma. I'll show you what's inside this list right now. So if I say Q debug list at 0, debug at 2, for example. Those are the accessing operator of the array. So as you can see, the first element in the list is hello, and the third element in the list is cute.
هو ليه بيطلع quotation mark؟
Because we are reading QDebug and that's how it works. We're QDebug. As string, it recognizes that string and use quotation marks. So as you can see, you have so the list contains hello as first string, and from second string, and cute as third string. Everybody's fine with that? Okay. So I recommend that I guess we'll make use of different functions in the QString later on, but I recommend that you check the documentation of the QString library, check the different functions that you have. Okay. We move to the second point, our second important classes, which is our type of class, which are the containers, QList, QStack. Okay, but before going into them, I just want to explain something on a side related to Qt.
You only can also open debug file.exe for that.
غالبا الابلكيشن اوبن وانت ما خدتش المفتوحه اول مره.
صح.
Okay, the part I'm going to explain is related to how Qt works from behind, but you don't really have to understand it. But if someone likes to know how the magic works from behind, this is how it comes. Okay. As you know, Qt is a C, we work with C++, so you can add stuff to the two languages. It's still C++. But as we're working, you will see that there are actually some keywords that are not in C++. So we use the word signal. We use the word block. And actually we have for each, which is the main reason I'm explaining this part right now. So how does Qt extend the actual language and add keywords to the language? Qt has something called MOOC compiler, or Meta Object Compiler. What this does is, before compiling the application, Qt send when we run some tool called QMake, whatever. What's done is that the application, before it gets compiled to the machine language, it sends the mock compiler, which search for each signal slot and all the words that are that Qt used to extend the C++ language, and converts them back into a normal C language. So it will, so it has some, I guess, for signals, converts some inverse C syntax, and that's how Qt extends the C++ language and adds additional keywords. Okay. So it actually produces something called mock file. The file extension is called mock, and then it gets compiled with the normal C compiler.
But does it include Qt from Visual Studio? Will it compile the same keywords?
I didn't try Qt with Visual Studio, but it should, yeah. Because actually what it does is there's something called the make file. This make file tells the compiler how it's supposed to compile this file, to send it somewhere, or do whatever it should do. So this make file is not something related to Qt. So it should go. Okay. So the main I want to point it out to show you that we have the keyword for each. So for example, if I have some string list. And this list has some stuff in it, I can say for each QString line, for example, in my list. That way, I can loop over the whole list, and I have that line as an iteration. I'll show an example. So, it's normal comment C++. It's a C++, you can write a normal C++ code here. Okay, so I create a QString list. I can add, this operator is overloaded in the list, so I can add strings in it, so I can say 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, for each internal image.
Well, I'll show you an example right now. So this way, I'm adding the list 1, 2, 3, 4, so that my list contains these 4 strings. Okay. So I can loop over this. I can do the normal loop. So I can say for int I equals 0, I smaller than list dot size, I equals plus, and I can print this to add. I just use the conventional way. Okay, I can run. I can try it. So I can see I get 1, 2, 3, 4. But there is a small note about QDebug. It has 2 main features over the normal cout. First thing, by default it adds an end line to the end at the end of the stream it's outputting. So you get end line by default. The second thing is it can deal with more class types than the normal cout. So if I have some Q object, it can print an information about this object. Okay, so this is a traditional way for looping over some array or some list. Now I show you how to do using for each. So I have Q string, let's say element in my list. So that's that's for each loop. So I did that in the Q. For each element in the list, I want to print that element. So actually it's iterating over the loop, and in each iteration, this element represents the element in the list. So this should give the same result.
So that character.
Eh?
That for each character.
No, it can't convert this is the list of strings. You can't convert a string to character by default. So you can't get this part.
هو انت ممكن تشيل
انا عايز اسال حاجه، هو الليست اللي انت كده في الفور ايتش بتعمل ايه؟
دي list بتاعتي. List or the array I'm looping on. By the way, C++ has a way to write for each loop, but we won't get to that now, so it's not something.
والله انا عندي 12 ايرورز
No, wait.
عندي 12 ايرورز
Okay, well, we can check that. Let's go on for now. كمل. It's operator is overloaded for yeah, it's like it's not getting one to the list. So the pen you same thing. الأول بص this is equivalent to this.
Okay, I know.
Okay. These two loops are equivalent.
Oh, okay.
D is equivalent in the.
So he just extracts one element from the list and puts it in the element. Like
yeah, it iterates over the whole list, but instead of using a counter and axing an element of the array, it just abstracts all that and gives you this for each loop.
Okay.
Okay, for the name for each. Okay, I'll just show you quickly some other containers. So we have QList. We have first we have Q vector, and like traditional C vector. And we can just append or push back. Five.
هي كان هنا
This Q vector, you can use it the same way you use traditional C vector, but it has some more functionalities. I guess I'm not sure if it's C vector has or not, but it has, for example, prevent as an element in the beginning of the vector. The opposite of append at the end of the vector, prevent at the beginning of the vector.
So what's the difference between pushback and push forward?
I don't remember. I guess it's the same as prevent. I'm not sure, but I check it. I don't remember.
وأفند the same as pushback.
Append the same as pushback is but it was different in the resizing, I guess. Okay, this Q vector, we can still loop over the Q vector. We can say for each and x. Okay. we have our elements. Another type is QList. And it works the same way. It's actually, QList is almost equivalent to QVector as an interface. The only difference is the implementation of source code. So it won't really be a big difference between them for you for now at least. But yeah, if someone's familiar, it's implemented using a linked list, and someone's implemented using an array. We also have QStack.
AQ list.
Same like QVector, but it's different implementation in source code. You can use whatever you like to them. We have QStack. I guess you should be familiar with Stack if you've taken one then. These are the main containers we'll be using mostly. QList, QVector, and maybe QStack, and QString list for sure. Okay, how do that?
answer هو الكيوليست تاخد strings جوه الكيوليست.
You can use it, but you change just the parameter QString. You can change this to QString, and this time with list of strings. Someone might ask what is the difference between using QList of string of QString and or QVector of QString and the actual QString list. Actually, QString list is inherits from QList of string. Just the same, but it has some more functionalities. I was talking about the difference between using QList of QString or QVector of QString and using the QString list.
طب هو مفيش كيو ان؟ هو ليه في كيو سترينج ومفيش كيو ان؟
عشان QString is a class, int is the primitive int, normal integer. That why you will still use the primitives. يعني the primitives دي مش هتتغير. I was talking about the classes. Okay with the containers.
بتقول الفرق ما بين الفيكتور والليست.
The difference the difference between the vector and
لازم
the
تبطل شويه يا جدع.
that was the difference between the vector and the list. For you, it's only you won't feel different. It's just different in the implementation of source code. This one is implemented using linked list. This one is implemented using an array. But for you, it won't matter with you. The difference between using QList of string or QString list. This is actually this inherits from that one. So it just this just like that one, but with more functionality. Okay. And by the way, Qt libraries are not only just similar to standard library. Away from having extra functionalities, you have look. I can tell you whatever you can imagine. Just add Q for it, and you have it there. For example, I was working on some project that I was using some port in the PC called serial port. I was searching how I can implement that in Qt. What I found is I have Q serial port. And you want to have some networking, TCP connection, HTTP, you have QHTTP, QTCP. So most things you will think about, you will find it already exists there as a library in Qt. We have QImage and QTextMap. These libraries for dealing with image. Also, we have this one you probably will need it. It's QFile and QTextStream. So I can have QFile, and I can use it to open some file and operate on it. We'll come into that in detail, but I'm just giving you some idea about what we have in Qt. Okay. QTextStream is like the F stream and input stream and upstream. Eh? You use QTextStream. You will use QTextStream to read from file. I guess we will have some example later about using QFile and QTextStream. But QFile is the actual file, and TextStream is what you use to read from the file. If everyone is okay till now, we can move to the actual GUI. Okay. Okay.
Q files are there as a file.
هو ده بيساعد.
It opens the file and you can use it to read from the file.
Same file stream.
Yeah. There's more than we found in the okay. close this project and start a new project. This time we're gonna use Qt widget application. We use this time Qt widget application, not Qt console application, because we are this time we're gonna build GUI.
إذا هو الجي اي بيشتغل على ايه؟
على اي حاجه اي بلاتفورم. Actually, by the way,
فيجوال بيزك الحاجات دي بتشتغل محتاجه
ده cross platform. By the way, Qt Creator itself, the actual IDE you're using right now, was built using Qt. Yeah, this is one side note.
نعم.
Qt Creator itself, the IDE you're using right now, was built using Qt. So actually, the libraries themselves was built using normal Visual Studio. Then they used it to build Qt Creator, which what we are using right now. Okay, so here we choose the type of the application. We have Q main window, Q widget, Q dialog.
اه انت جبتها ازاي صح؟
Okay.
جبتها ازاي؟
احنا كنا فين ورحنا فين؟
Here we choose we create new project. First time we choose Qt console application. This time we'll use Qt widget application. Here we'll name the application Qt window. Okay. Q main window is actually like what you have in the IDE itself. This is a main window. You have a menu bar, you have title bar, you can put widgets. Q dialog is like is like this one. But this is a dialog.
ما انت دلوقتي هتكريت حاجات مختلفة يعني ممكن تكريت دايلوج ممكن تكريت
But that's the base class for now. It's the main class for us. So we will name it main window, or let's say Qt window. Okay, this base class, the header file, source file, and the form file. Finished. Okay, let's first start by the main function right now. So the main function has a normal Q application, and here we have an instance of the file we just created, Qt windows. ايه؟
احنا مختلفين عنه
غيرتوا اسم الفايل بقى عندكم مين ويندو مثلا؟
ده من ويندو
ايوه عشان ما غيرتش اسم الفايل. اوكي.
بص على الجنب هتلاقي headers وسورسز نفس الكلام. لا هو في headers ده header
بص ده كده اسم البيس كلاس اللي احنا هنستعملها. هيجيب مين ويندو فور عشان ما حدش يدور. اوكي.
استنى معلش
ده في مين
The class name is different from the base class. This one is what you're going to build. This is a base class that is inherited from it. Yeah, you'll get familiar with inheritance in Qt.
برضه مختلف انا مش عندنا
ايه اللي عندك طيب؟
عشان اجيب المين. هو ايه الفرق بين مين دوت سي بي ومين وين
هو
دوت
بلس
سي؟
هو
هنتكلم عنه.
ممكن دلوقتي اجيبها
اه اسمين ماشي كده يعني
على الشمال الفوائد كلها
انا دلوقتي في المين مش في الاكتر كلاس.
ماشي
So basically your whole application is inside that class. This main window is what we're going to build. It's what we're going to build right now. So basically, the main function calls the instance of your application or your window, and it shows it and it runs. So mostly you will not need to mess anything with the main function. Our work will be with the main window CMB and the main window Edge. Okay, first let's run the application to see what we'll get right now. So this is what we get, an empty window. At least we're cut out with the terminal, but still empty. Okay. First, let's see the form. then we'll see the implementation itself. If we double click the main window, we'll see the form that we have. This is the Qt Designer. Here we build our window. We will add our widgets. For example, we can add a button, or we can have labels, text, edit.
عملت ايه؟
I just double click the form file.
تمام. بعدين بقى نكتب التكست ازاي؟
Let's have a line. So if we now try to run our application again, we have whatever we had here. حد everybody's following? معايا كتب؟
لا مش تمام.
مشكلة.
هو انت
جبتها ازاي؟
Okay, here we have our files. These are code.
هو ايه الفرق بين الليبل والتكست بتاعته؟
لا, we will talk about widgets in detail later, but I'm just showing you an example. So,
طيب وبعدين هو ايه الفرق بين الديباج والبتاع
take for debug for now. Okay, but so let's talk about the project structure right now. The .pro is the actual project file. It has some information about the compiling. The header file for our main window, the CSV file for our main window, the main file, and the form. The form is what we use to design the GUI. By the way, you can actually get rid of this form and build everything programmatically, but for as a start, we'll use the regular form. If we double click the form, the main window, it will show us the design. Am I in? Okay. So here, I just skip through the widget, show you the main widgets we probably gonna need. So probably you need push button because no any application has buttons. Radio button is what you have if you have some choices and you need to select one of them. We have checkbox, which is similar to radio button, but you can have multiple options. List view if you have list of items you want to show. Table view for people who are going to use it for digital design. Probably you need the table view. Doc widget. We come to it, but we also one of the most important tools are Q line edit and the Q text edit because you need them for input. Labels are just for typing any text like that. This is mostly what we're gonna use for now. Also, you have the layouts for making for laying our widgets. Okay. So you basically you just use tools, you add the widgets you want and make the design you want. Then we'll go to the actual to having some functionality for these tools. Okay. Most of you didn't attend the session at 1 p.m. So I think you're not familiar with signal and slot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's first talk about signal and slots and come back to. Okay, Qt has some nice concept which is called signals and slots. So basically, it's a method of interaction between widgets and the classes, and I think it's the most interesting. Okay, so for example, if I have some button, let's say it's my button. Whenever if anyone hit that button, it emits a signal. It says signal is named click, for example. Okay. In my code, I define slot for this click signal. what's a slot? Slot is a regular C++ function. And the only difference is that it can be connected to a signal. So I connect this signal to a slot which I call, for example, button is clicked. So this is a regular C++ function that gets executed whenever this signal is emitted. So when the user hits my button, this function will get executed. So for example, in this function, I can open another window, I can show a message box, and I can connect the same signal to different slots. That's what we're going to do right now. And by the way, this is also processed using the Qt mob compiler. Let's get to actual coding. Okay, this is the header file of the class. The main window, it inherits from Q main window. And here we can find our functions and slots and all that stuff. So first, we'll come here and add another section which is called private or public slots. And here we find our slots. So we say void open window. Okay, let's change it. Let's not open window right now. Let's say change label text. Here I find a header for a slot. Okay. What I want to do is when the user hits this button, I want this label to have the same text inside this text box. Okay. Okay, so I come to the actual main window CP. Ignore the UI setup. You just leave this as for now. If I'm using the form editor like this one, what I'm doing right now, to access any element inside this form, I type UI and use access operator, and I have all the widgets I need. So I have a push button, I have a label, I have line edit, and you can see the names of the tools, the name of the tool here. So I can choose the tool, it has a name. Push button and say this name is my button, for example. So when I say UI my button, now I have I'm referring to the actual button on the form. Okay. Before getting to the actual signal of the button, let's for example try to change the text on the button programmatically. So we say UI.my button dot set text my button. Now when I run the application, it should name the program the button automatically to my button.
يعني مش المفروض ده set text مش arrow؟
ايه؟ لا it's a pointer.
خلينا عملنا private stocks.
انا هستعملها دلوقتي بس. Yeah, I guess you can take break for a couple of minutes because I need to change the operating system because there is some problem with this Qt version. So,
كده في الهيدر
hey,
ممكن مشكلة في الهيدر
I know it's actually I just installed this version of Qt, so probably it has some problems. So I just switched the operating system. Okay. طيب. دلوقتي we use again if someone was missing it, if we use the keyword UI keyword in order to access any widget that we use we're print using the form. So UI gives us access to the widget that we have on the form. So as you can see, I just changed the text property of the button to name it my button and start the application. By the way, Qt has some convention in the method. You know setters and getters. So for setters, just use set, text, set, or whatever property you have. For getters, it doesn't use the word get. So if I want to print the actual text in the button, for example, let's say qdebug. To access the value of the property, we just use the property name with parentheses. So it's and you see the property itself acts like the name of the function. So this would print that text on the bottom. Second, I'll show you next time. Sure. I'm showing you how to access a value of some element on in your widget. As you can see here, we have the text my button. So we actually print to the console the text that exists in the button. Let's try something better. Let's say you want to print. Okay, let's put that for now. So that's how we access that property in the just. What I want to say is that we don't have the word get. We just the name of the property, but as a function. Okay, let's have some interactive. So we want as we said, we want the button. When we click it, we want it to set the text in the label to that in the text area. So I want when I click. When I have type some text here, whenever I click my button, I wanted this text to be the same as that one. Okay? That is what I'm again. So first of all, we need to define the slot we had in the header file. So we just come here. By the way, Qt has the QtGI has some helping functions. So if I say private slot. Let's name it void chain label. If I right click any method, if I can say right click refactor, add definition in main p and add the header as the function.
كده private slots دي ايه؟
The difference between private slots and the regular private or public section, the function defined in private slot or public slot, whatever we're using, can be connected to signals. That's the only difference.
Oh, okay.
But it can even trigger the function itself like any C++ function. Okay, so now we have our slot here. You can't connect to any signal. So here I want to say you are.
ازاي جبت الفانكشن void؟
Well, you can type it, but Qt has refactoring or function both. Right, come here again, say right click, refactor, add definition in moment p, it adds a function to the CV file. Okay. Let's say here I want UI, not line edit, which is this widget. This widget is called line edit. We have text edit and line edit. We come with a different finger later, but this is called line edit and its name is line edit. So here I want line edit. Dot set text. For now this is text to AA. Okay, so now we have our slot defined. What's missing right now? We want when the user clicks the button, we want this text to be set to AA.
Okay.
So as we agreed, the button sends a signal. We want to connect this signal to that slot. So here in the main window, in the constructor, we say connect.
انت بتعمل ايه دلوقتي؟ عجبنا انت بتعمل ايه؟
دلوقتي احنا عملنا سلوت. يعني this slot this slot whenever it gets triggered, it will set the label text in the label to AA. So right now we want to trigger this slot using the signal that comes from the button. So we say, I know this syntax might look a bit weird for you, but you will get familiar with it. So say connect. First, we need the object that sends the signal, which is UI dot my button. Okay, this is the first parameter. So this is what sends the signal. Next, we type the keyword signal in capitals. So we say signal and open the bracket. It shows us the signal that this object can send. It can send the signal for click, for destroy, for press, release, toggle. These all signals that this object sends. So we choose click. Now, so this is our object. This is the signal. Now we choose the object that has the slot that we want to connect. So can anyone guess what object that has the slot that we want to connect this signal to it? Okay, which is our instance right now. So we should just pass this. Okay. We're connecting the click signal of the button to the slot which we just defined. By the way, there's a I know there's a shorthand for doing this, but I want you to be familiar first with signals and slots. Okay, تمام لحد دلوقتي؟ This is an instance of the main window, the current instance, so that because it's the one that has a slot. As you we want when this signal is triggered, I was sent from the bottom, we want to trigger this slot. So this is the sender, the signal, the receiver, and the slot. So also type the word capital word slot. Here we have a list of slots that our main window has. We will connect it to change label. I know the syntax is a bit weird, but as I told you, you'll get familiar with it. جماعين؟ عشان نشوفه كلها. شايفين syntax? Connect the widget that sends the signal. By the way, it doesn't have to be signal. It can be a normal class that sends signal. I'll show you how to send signals later on. The object that sends the signal, the name of the signal, the object that receives the signal, and the slot that will get invoked whenever it receives the signal. Let's try it. Now, when I click the bottom, it gets it to AA. Let's make it more interactive. And instead of setting it to AA, we wanted to set it to the value of the text in the line edit.
وبعد الجملة بتاعت التشينج ايه؟
معلش ممكن زوم طيب. طيب احنا بقى مثلا السلوت بتاعتنا شويه بدل ما هي يو ار ليبل سيت تكست زي ما هي بس actual content. Okay, let's first get the content of the label of the line edit. So we say qstring line edit content this is a folder for the value we get. Say UI line edit dot text.
طب ليه لازم نعمل؟
مش لازم بس عشان انا عاوز بس you get familiar with string. كده السترينج ده هيبقى جواه الفاليو بتاع اللاين edit. تمام؟ اوكي ولا ايه؟ اوكي هو just plus here. كده so here we're capturing the string in the line edit and we pass it to the label. So right now to run our program, let's type here some text. We check, we get our fun. Okay. جمعين ولا ايه؟ Okay. Okay. Now let's see how we can open another form or another window.
ممكن تخليه في السلايد.
Make sure you have this code working first, and we'll proceed.
هو ده كان الفرق دي بالنسبة للخلصة.
دي كانت البرايفت ستارت.
ايه السيجنال؟
السيجنال هو البوتون بتاعنا اوريدي هو عنده سيجنال، دي سيجنال اسمها كليك فاين في الكيو بوتون نفسه.
دي الحتة اللي انت بتاعتها دي؟
دي سيجنال موجوده في البيلت جواك. كان ايميت سيجنال بعد كده هاو تو ميك يور اون سيجنال بس
انت جبت الستاتس بتاع السيجنال ده منين؟
انت بص انت اول ما تايب سيجنال كده بيوريك السيجنالز اللي ممكن الاوبجكت ده يطلعها.
ماشي الديس دي انت جبتها لوحدك
دي لانها دلوقتي السلوت دي موجوده فين؟ عشان ليه موجوده فين؟ في المنيو. فاهم؟ هي الديس دي على فكره سي بلس بلس.
يعني ايه؟
دي موجود في اي كلاس سي بلس بلس. This is a pointer to the current instance. يعني instance دي main window دي. ده في اي كلاس
هو كده القصة هو التشينج دي كلها الصوت بتاعتنا.
لا عملنا ايه؟ مش ممكن احطها بابليك بس يعني مش فارقه عملت حاجه دلوقتي.
طب اصنف الكود ازاي؟
كمل ولا لسه؟
انا بيقول لي ان my button is not a member of UI menu.
عشان انت بتسمي البوتن ماي بوتن.
لا مش member.
هو يعني ايه يو اي از ان اونلي كير
ايوه عارف كده لا بس
whatever the name line is or the name label or my button. This is the name that we مش حاجة standard. We can just the name that these are the default names, but we can name it whatever we want. Like what we did here, we named our button my button. For example, if we create another instance of label, the default name will be label 2. You can change it to whatever. And actually, it's recommended that you name your widget to be able to make it for maintainability. نكمل. Okay. Next, I'll show you how to open another window from this window. First, we need to create our the window that we will open. So choose new, new designer form class. جمعينا
لا تاني ايه بقى هنعمل ايه؟
هنعمل اول another window. هنعمل another window and we'll open it using the button.
طب انا اصلا عندي مشكله في اللعبه.
انا مش عارف الفيديو وين.
By the way, the widgets in Qt are HTML aware, which means you can actually type an HTML tag inside the value of the text and it will identify it and render it correctly. For example, if I come here and let's say change our function to, so if I say UI label set text, I say from so these are HTML tag. Some of you might not be familiar with HTML, but for whoever likes using them. So it's actually renders HTML. It's aware of the HTML tag. We can so whoever is familiar with using HTML and adding styles, Qt supports that. Also, you can use Qt. Do you know the CSS files, cascade style sheets that are in web page? You can actually there's something called QSS, which is the similar syntax to QSS, and you can CSS, and you can use it to customize your application. You can just create a QSS file or download a ready one and plug into your application. So the whole application will have the styles in that file. Okay. Okay. Now we want to create a new dialog that we wanted to pop up whenever we click the button. So first we create our dialog. So we'll right click and add new file Qt, and you want Qt designer form class. Qt designer form class will give us something like what we have right now: header file, CP file, and UI file. Okay. So here it asks us what the type of dialog or the window we have. We can have another main window like the one we have right now, or we can have dialog without button, dialog with button. We're free to choose. So I choose just a dialog without button. We'll name it my dialog. and we'll do. So these are other dialogues that should pop up. Now we'll have, for example, so we just type here hello.
Dialogue without buttons.
Oh, it's just dummy dialogue that has some list. Yeah, shut up, I got it. Okay. We can add functionalities in the dialogue in the CP file like we did with the main window, just like we did before. But for now, we just want to open this dialogue whenever the user takes the button. Okay. So we come here. It's not. I know it's not familiar. It's not convenient to use
هو انت مين
name.
دلوقتي؟
دلوقتي نازل main window تاني. We want to open the dialogue. So first, we need to include our dialog file. So we say include my dialog, the name that I've given to it here. Okay. Now, when we hit this is code that we defined before, I'll show you what happens if I use a normal C++ variable class or I'm going to use a pointer. So let's say if I say my dialog, let's say name is DLG. Now I create an instance of my dialog and I say dialog.show. Now this should construct the dialog and show it. But let's see what will happen. The slot that we find in the bottom. If I click it, you'll see it just appear for a second and then disappear.
هو انت لما عملت انكلود ماي دايلوج حطيت كوتيشن ماركس ولا؟
ايه؟
لما عملت انكلود ماي دايلوج.
Application mark was it's a user defined class.
ماشي.
So if I say so I create an instance of my dialog and I called and I said I click show. But as you see, the dialog appears for a second and then it disappears again. Can anybody guess why this happens?
Because it's empty.
No.
If you don't show, you only show.
No, I did.
هو انت بتعمل موبايل لا
I just named my dialog. Okay. In C, you know that the variables are get distracted by the end of their scope. So if I declare, for example, int x equal 5, by the end of this scope, it gets distracted. So what happens here? Since it's not a dynamic object, and when we construct it using normal declaration, by the end of this scope, it gets distracted. That's why it disappears at once. So instead of doing that, what we should use dynamic allocation. You know dynamic allocation. Are you familiar with dynamic allocation? Okay. So basically, we should just use a pointer, and we'll say equals new my dialog. And now we can say my dialog dot show.
هو انت عامل انكلود ماي دايلوج فوق؟ ده سي تي ولا
Dot h. So I guess you should know that dynamically allocated objects, like when we say new, they don't get distracted unless the user calls delete. So they stay on the heap as long as we don't distract them manually. So right now, if I click run again, if I click the push button, now I have my dialog. We have.
عشان انت
Didn't you say in one of your sessions here
I
that
just
you
make a better parent. The small problem, you know that whenever you construct a dynamic object, you should destruct it by yourself. You should call it operator delete. However, Qt has a better way for handling the dynamic objects. So you actually don't need to say delete dialog. Instead, when you construct a Q widget, you should pass a parent. So here I should say this. So what I'm saying here is I'm telling the Qt that this object is a child of this main window. So the main window is parent of this dialog. So when this main window gets disrupted, as it's an instance of Q object, it automatically destructs or deallocates its child. So I don't need to deallocate the dialog now. When the main window gets disrupted, it will deallocate this child by itself.
وانت عامل ليه عامله كان دايناميك
عشان if I use a normal when it runs out of scope it gets struck زي ما تشوف كده كانت بتختفي على طول.
لو انت عملت دايناميك
It won't, dynamic allocated object don't get structured by the end of the scope. You have to deallocate it by yourself.
انا مش فاهم.
ثانية والفيديو ايه
How I main window with my structure gets called will be allocated to structure just
حاجة في الكيوتي
حاجة كتير. Yeah, لا مش سي. Okay, let's explain this point again for those who aren't here, in the morning.
انا عارف ان انت صحيح بس وانت صغير.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier in the morning, Qt has its way of implementing garbage collection. What means garbage collection is that when you construct anything with heap, so if I say n x equal un, you know this dynamic allocation. When you construct any object on the heap, you have to free the heap after you finish. So I should say delete x by the end of my code. Right? Qt has a different way of in Java, for example, you don't need to deallocate things that you construct on the heap. And in C# is same thing. You don't need to use it, it handles it by itself. Qt have use some trick to have the same syntax. So instead of having to deallocate the object, as you have seen here, I say my dialog, for example. Dialog equal new my dialog, and here in the constructor of any Q object, it takes a parameter, at least one parameter, which is the parent. So if I say this means that this object is a child of this class. Okay, so this here refers to our main window. Okay, so now when the main window gets disrupted here, it will automatically do the cleanup and call the delete dialog. And I guess it's more complex for a Q object. The cleanup has some more stuff to do, but it will handle the garbage collection for you. So you don't need to actually call delete as long as you pass the parent to the instance that we have. Also, Qt has something called Q pointer. Q pointer is some sort of smart pointer. It's actually a class, but you can say it's smart pointer. So I can pass to it, for example, Q string. I say pointer. You don't write that. It's a class. Equal new Q string, for example. This is called Q pointer. If you use these pointers, you don't need to use delete. This is a nice feature in Qt. You might need it later, but I'm just showing it for you now because these are the two ways that Qt handles garbage collection. So if you use a Q pointer or passive parent, when do you use which? I tell you. You use this method when the object is an instance of Q object. So Qt has a superclass which is Q object. So most of widgets and many classes in Qt are actually inherited from Q object. from them is a queue widget itself. So any widget inherits queue object. So all the ancestors of queue object, you can use this method with them to actually pass the parent and to get extracted automatically. If you want to use another class type that's not ancestor of queue object, you can just use queue pointer and it will handle the garbage collection for you. Okay?
معلش انت بتستخدم طريقه
لا هو it gets
مفيش حاجه بتبقى
if you use these two methods you don't need to structure them. لا بقى انت بتستعمل normal pointer.
الفوق دي بنستخدمها يعني اللي تحت دي لما يكون كيو حاجه بتنهرت كيو اوبجكت فوق بقى
دي لو انت حاجه مش it doesn't inherit from queue object normal. It's not a standard string for example or standard end. Okay. Yeah. There is another thing, or it's actually a shorthand for using signal and slot with queue widgets. Instead of typing the private slot, change labels and connecting the signal, there's shorthand. If you are using a widget from the form, you can right-click the widget, type and choose go to slot, and choose whatever slot you select. For example, you want the click slot, and it will actually add the slot to the private slot in the header file and add the function CP file. And it won't write the line connect the object signal in, but it's automatically handled by the compiler, so it knows so you can say it's connected automatically. And here I can implement the same code. So here I just get the same functionality. Okay, how do I see?
عملت function button click ازاي؟
We can open the menu window هنا, right click button, go to slot, click. هنا you will find yourself inside the function and you need to type the function in. And actually this is the method we use most of the time.
نعم.
This is the method we use most. Okay. Let's take a look at final thing, I guess, and it should be enough there, I guess. So there's something called queue action. Okay. What's queue action? For example, if I have some function that says new file, for example. So I have some toolbars that has new file, and I have some I have in the menu file, new file, and I have button new file. And instead of writing the code for all these members, we just create an action. So we have a queue action that's called new. It creates a new file or it pops up a message. I show you now. There's a shorthand similar to this slot, but I show you the way to write it. Or actually, let's do it here. So here, this is the action window or the action editor. I say I want a new action. For this one, I want, let's name it pop-up. And action, you have the action editor here. So I say new. Let's say pop-up message. I show you also how to show some messages. And let's say okay. So now I have the action, but it's not used. I can edit here, for example. Or by the way, if you want to have menus, this is where you play this menu. So I say file, and here I can add the same action. Okay, so I have the action here, and I can see how it looks. So I have pop-up message, and I have it inside the file menu also. Okay. Eh? Same action, but you can trigger it from different places. So I can go here, right click, and go to slot, trigger. Like the button has the signal click, the action has signal trigger. So I go here. For now, let's just print some message to the console. So let's say action is triggered. Okay. So now if I come here, if I click here, you will see it prints action is triggered. Click it again, and same for here.
بتسأل البنتنج ليه كده بس مش عامل كيو دلوقتي.
أنا كده بقى. I just print the message.
Where did you get the action? New action.
لا ما كانش كونسبت صح هنا عشان ده جي ام بي.
A new action. Where did you get new action?
New action.
That was QT action.
بيقول لك دي new action.
ما هو.
Okay.
Okay. As I told you, this is just a shorthand. You can use the same method. So I can say connect. UI action pop-up message signal. Right now we have triggered instead of click. And the connected to the same slot that we used earlier. So let's say slot change label for example. Okay, this will connect it to this plot. So, if I click it, we can change it. So as you can see, it's connected to the original label, and it's triggering all the two slots. So actually right now, this action is connected to two slots. Connected to the slot which brings action is triggered, and connected to the slot which shows the message. So you can have many signals can be connected to many slots, and also slots can be triggered by different signals. So we have two slots, one to print action is triggered, and one to show the dialog, and they are triggered by both our action and the button. And also, but I don't want you to get you confused. I can connect even this button to this action. So whenever this signal is this button is clicked, it triggers this action, and this action gets triggered and triggers the slot. I hope you don't get confused right now. So final thing, I guess looking up. Okay, I'll show you just how to show a message box for the user. First, I need to include Q message box. I guess it's in the Q tour, but okay. I told you earlier there are a lot of libraries that are already included in the core of Q, so you don't need to include it. I guess message box is one of them. But the thing is, when you include the header file of the library, when you type, while typing, it shows you the pop-up to help you what are the functions of this library and the parameters and stuff like that. So here we have a Q message. I included the Q message box, and here instead of printing this line, I say Q message box, my message. Say equal new Q message box. As I mentioned earlier, we got this. So first thing after that is the title of the message. Okay, let's say message box title. Next, we will pass the content of the message. So we say content, and say set. Then we say my message dot show. Sometimes we need to cast it to string first. Okay, let's do syntax now.
انا عايز
By the way, this most you will get this error a lot of time. When you say cannot open file, permission is denied, those one exit, it means that you actually have the application to open the one and you need to close it first to run it again. So here you can see you have our method. This is not the best way to use message box, so no need to get into this right now. I'll show you a better way to show it. So instead we will say okay, بصوا معايا هنا. You can, as I just typed earlier, you can construct the message as construct a regular object and say new message box equal new message box and whatever we just typed. But instead, there are ready-made static functions that help us show message for the user in an easier way. So I can just type Q message box, colon, and I have different types of message. I have information which shows this. It has this information icon. I can choose critical. It shows the X icon. Here is this critical message box. We have warning, which shows a yellow icon. So you can choose whatever type of message you want. Next, we choose the parent, which is this in our case, title of the message, content of, and then the content of the message. Fourth parameter, which probably will you need to use, but I don't want to get to the details right now. Here you can specify the buttons you want. So I can say Q message box, yes, no, for example. Yes, and Q message box.
هو دي ايه؟
These are the buttons of the message. So here you can see we have yes, no, title, content, and then how to get the response. I guess we can talk about that next time. But that's how we can show a message for the user. Just a static function that they had for the use of instead of like constructing a few messages each time and setting the parameters, we just use this static function to show message. Okay. I guess that's not for today. عشان اعتقد كده كتير النهارده ولا ايه؟ Okay. Okay. See you next week ان شاء الله. بس قبل السمري يا ريت تقعدوا يعني جربوا في البيت. هتبص كيوت من الحاجات اللي هو مش يعني I'm just showing you the basics how يعني just the basics. You need to work on something, try different. We talk about different widgets next time. We talk about different widgets next time. Text edit, line edit. We talk about MVC. But please try to experience with tools. And if you find if something comes into your mind how to do kaza or how to do whatever you want, pick it up and we can discuss next time. To summarize what we did today, first we talked about the Qt libraries and QList, QString, and console applications. Then we moved to GUI development, main window, concept of signals and slots, how to connect different signals to different slots and triggering action, and finally, and how to open different windows, and finally how to show message box. Next time we will experience new widgets and we'll do some more coding and we'll introduce the concept of MVC in Qt. Probably you might need. But please try to experience, and if you have any questions, bring it up next time. Thank you.